about the TNT Dallas reboot in 2012. Like, were you all yeses, like you, Larry, and Linda? Was there any hesitations in, revisiting these iconic characters? We might get it wrong.
Well, two things come into play with that. One is when Dallas ended, we realized that the three of us, Larry, Linda, and myself, as much as we loved each other, loved being together, we would never work together again. Because what you said earlier on in this podcast was when I walk in the door, when Haggy walks in the door, when Linda walks in the door, the viewing audience goes, oh, there's Bobby and JR and Sue Ellen. And if we walk in together, there's just no way that we could be anything other than those three. So we thought, yeah, never going to work. And over the years, we have been given scripts. A lot of people wanted to redo Dallas, so they'd submit a script and they were god awful. Almost all of them were just horrible. No one understood the show. And Leonard was dead by then, so he couldn't, be involved. So we have basically resigned ourselves to the fact that we wouldn't work together. Then we got a notification that TNT is looking to do it. And they have this writer, producer named Cynthia Sidra, who's written a script. Would you read it? And, Larry, Linda, and I, anytime anything happens, we're on the phone together. No decision is made unilaterally. We do it as a team, and we always have. And so we got together and said, yeah, let's read the script. And as soon as we read it, let's talk. So we all got the scripts. We read it. I was in Oregon. Larry was in Malibu. Linda was in Canyon Country or someplace. And literally put down the script. And within a half hour, we were on the phone together. It was the best Dallas script that we'd read since Dallas. And we said, we should get serious about this. Let's open it up. So that's why the show was picked up, because they knew that if the three of us didn't do it, it wouldn't get done. And when the three of us said, absolutely, we should do it. And the first script was terrific. Her ear was really good. Mike Robin was the other executive producer. He's a brilliant filmmaker and a real his film logic in terms of character and stuff when it's being depicted is phenomenal. And there's no better director to work with than Mike Robin. There's no better producer writer to run a show than Cynthia. So we were in the mix. We were dedicated to it. And in all honesty, I think it should have run 5, 6 years, maybe longer. What happened was the entire upper echelon of TNT changed. Our champion was gone, for the show. They brought in a bunch of new not producers, but president of the network who wanted to make his mark. So he said, Dallas is an old show. We want a young, youthful thing. And he canceled. We were the second highest rated show on TNT when we were canceled. So we missed the boat on that. I think it should have gone longer, but everything happens for a reason. When it was canceled, I went back to LA instead of living in Dallas. Mike Robin went back to working on Major Crimes and immediately brought me in to direct. So I was able to, the first time I'd ever directed something I wasn't acting in.
Wow.
It would change, and that changed things for me. So I ended up directing Major Crimes as well. So it was great.
I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I thought it should have lasted. I mean, it was just, there was the online petitions and there was outrage. And I know there was changes at the TNT, but I thought it was, I couldn't believe how brilliant I thought it was.
Yeah. It was, she just got it. She understood why it was successful the first time around. And the reason that I love doing it is I wasn't going back playing Bobby Ewing as the 35-year-old that he was when it was canceled. Well, he's 40 plus years, but who's counting?
Who's
So
counting?
the first episode was Bobby's 60th birthday, although I think I was 63 at the time. But I thought nobody generally gets a chance to play the same character, but having aged appropriately, So to play Bobby as a not just as an adult, but as a senior adult was to me really interesting acting exercise. He's not the brash guy who would, punch somebody or push him in the pool or all that. Now he's a different person, but he's still Bobby. So it was wonderful for me. Those 3 years were terrific.
Was it like cathartic, or was there some comfort in the fact that, like at the time of Larry's passing, like you guys were, at least you had one more chance to work with him. You were kind of in close contact with Linda. I mean, I know you guys are really good friends anyway, but you were
Yeah.
working together.
Oh yeah, Larry and Linda and I would sit together during the filming and stuff, and Larry especially would just say, "I'm 82 years old, and we get to play together again. This is the best life ever." And that was his attitude, and it was cathartic. We were able to be those friends that we were in 1991. In 2011. That was 20 years. And we got to sit in the chairs that said JR, Bobby, Sue Ellen, and be those characters and be our friendship off camera. It was 3 blessed years.
Do you think are we done with Dallas reboots or movies, or, and yeah, that's really, I
I
guess, my
don't know.
question.
I don't know. And I've, as obviously because of what we've talked about, you can never say never anymore in any business. Um, when Dallas was canceled by TNT, Mike Robin made a concerted effort to find another home for it. The financial labyrinth of Dallas makes it almost impossible. It did make it impossible to find a home for it immediately. It has gone through so many production companies, so many studios. There's CBS, there's TNT, there's Lorimar, there's Warner Brothers. Everybody has some control over some things, and it made it impossible for him to make a deal. That's not to say that one or more of the characters couldn't come back in a different format, perhaps. I don't know how all that works. I am certainly not opposed to any revisitation of my character or of Linda's character or of anybody's, to be quite honest. If it worked, if you could get a writer of the level of Cynthia to ferret out something that would work, and then if you could make the business work, yeah. So there is an outside chance. I'm not sure it's going to happen within my lifetime, but keep a good thought. We never know.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of finances associated with Dallas. And I guess so it sounds like you would be interested, even though like Larry's not here. And I mean, that's just
Well, we did the final year without him,
yeah.
and it wasn't a struggle. It was very interesting. It wasn't a mournful set, because everything about him was so enjoyable that it was, we would just tell Hagman stories all the time, and everybody be laughing and crying, from laughter over it. So, yeah, to go back and do it again would be, you'd have to do an homage, of course, to his character. You'd have to remember, if I'm playing Bobby, there's got to be a reference to JR. It's just, it's inevitable. So none of that would bother me if the scripts were right. Yeah.
And that is what Cynthia did too. Like there was so much homage to like Barbara Valgetti's, like Miss Ellie and Jock. Like it was done so well. And the way that Jesse Metcalf, and they were all just so well integrated, and they kind of got it. Like I don't know what they did. I don't know if they sat there and watched the original start to finish, but it was great casting, and it was very dear to the original.
They did watch it when we all got together the first time, to read in Warner Brothers again. Here we are, with Brenda Strong, and everybody was, around the table. One of the conversations was, first of all, Cynthia watched about 150 episodes, to get the idea.
Wow.
But the younger cast pretty much didn't know who we were until they were able to look at the show. Some people knew who I was because Jesse and Josh were of the age that would have been aware of Step by Step, but no, they had to figure out who we were as cast members, as JR and Bobby and Sue Ellen. But they did get it, and they got their respective roles in terms of who they were vis-a-vis Hagman and myself. Josh had to be Hagman's son. He had to be John Ross Jr. Jesse had to be the adopted son of Bobby, and inherit their respective responsibilities as cast members and for storylines. And they got it very well, as did the girls on the show. Julie Gonzalo, amazing, wonderful, just fit right in.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Do you think if there was, I mean, I imagine she was not in the conversations for the TNT reboot, but do you think ever if there was a reboot of any sort, like maybe Victoria Principal now would, I mean, she's a very great businesswoman, but there's been a business for a really long time.
Well, that's an interesting question because I think probably now she would be more approachable for it, certainly. And and she didn't. We sort of killed her, but we didn't really kill her. On Dallas. So she kind of could be alive. So, the right writer could figure out something about it, and again, it would be such a different relationship. The Bobby Pam relationship would be unique. Do they relive their past things? He lost her. He fell in love with April. He lost April. Then there was Brenda Strong, playing Anne. So, there's all kinds of dynamics that would make, I think, a good writer extremely happy to tackle that kind of relationship. So again, never say never.
And we might as well just throw some Priscilla Presley in there too. Just add a little Jenna Wade. I mean,
You
why
can
not?
throw as many beautiful women my direction that you want to. And I think it's a good idea.
Do you think, has there ever been talk of rebooting step by step? Like, do you and Suzanne, when you're over at her house, like you say in Palm Springs, does that ever come up?